Alright, so let's learn the next step of how to solve a Rubik's Cube. Just like, so we've created a yellow cross by turning these 4 edge pieces so that they're yellow side up. In order to accomplish that, we had to do a memorized sequence of moves. We couldn't just use our intuition to figure it out, because if we had, we certainly would have messed up the first 2 layers that we'd already done. So we're going to do a similar thing to turn the 4 corner pieces face up, or yellow side up. And similarly, we can't just use our intuition to figure out how to do that, because in the process we would mess up the rest of the cube. So instead we're going to learn a memorized sequence. It's very simple, memorized sequence. And it will shuffle the 3 corner pieces. This is the effect that the algorithm has. Okay? Just imagine for a moment that cheating was legal and you could do anything you wanted to solve the cube. You might look at this and go, hey, if I just grab this piece and rotate it, there we go. I could just grab this piece and rotate it. And I could do the same. I could grab that one. There we go. Yay. See? Now I've solved it. Okay, well, first of all, that's against the rules. So that's not a valid way to solve your Rubik's Cube. And second, most cubes are, not all cubes are designed the same, and most cubes won't allow you to simply rotate pieces like that with your hand. So, but that would be great if you could do that. As it turns out, this memorized sequence that we're going to learn, you turn a few pieces here and there, it's really quite simple. It has exactly the effect of what I just did. It rotates 3 of the pieces 1 turn, and in a very predictable way that's easy to understand. And so I'm going to demonstrate that right now. I'll teach you the move in just a second. First I want to demonstrate that the move has exactly the effect I just showed you. So this is what the move does. It leaves this piece, which is on the left hand side and farthest from you, it leaves it alone. This piece doesn't move. Okay, when the sequence is done, this piece will be in exactly the same position it's in now. Okay? This piece, and this piece will each rotate 1 turn clockwise. So, like that. This yellow will be here on top, this yellow will be here on top, and this yellow will go there. Okay? So, each of these turns 1 turn clockwise. Okay, so let's observe that. Okay, here we go. I'm going to do the move. And there we go. So, if I do the move again, what we'll find is that this piece is still face up, and each of these 3 will have turned again. Let's do it. And there it is. That piece is unchanged, and each of these 3 pieces has turned 1 turn clockwise. Now, there are a limited number of ways that when you're solving the cube and you get to this step, there are a limited number of presentations that those 4 corners can have. Okay? I'm going to show you now what those possibilities are with a drawing. Alright? We're ignoring for now the edge pieces. In these drawings we're ignoring the edge pieces. They're just going to confuse the issue, I think. So here's one possible presentation, and that is where none of the corner pieces is yellow side face up. Here's the thing. When none of the corner pieces is face up, they won't all be in what I call the same phase. In other words, they won't all need to turn the same number of times to turn face up. 2 of them will require 2 turns, and 2 of them will require 1 turn. Okay? So how do you get them all face up? Without over-explaining it, what I'm just going to say is this. You put a piece in the upper left-hand corner that requires, as I've indicated here by the number 1, that requires 1 turn clockwise in order to be face up. And what will happen then is you'll apply the algorithm and you'll end up with this situation where 1 piece is in the is one piece face up like this, and the other three each require one turn in order to be face up. Okay? That's a possibility. Another scenario you could have is, so here you have none of the corner pieces face up. You could also have this situation where one of the corner pieces is face up, and the other three pieces, they may require one turn in order to be face up, or they may require two turns in order to be face up. That's another scenario. In that case, you put the one piece that is already face up in the upper left-hand corner, and you apply the algorithm as many times as necessary in order to solve it. You may have a scenario in which two corner pieces are face up. In that case, one of them will definitely always require two turns in order to turn face up, and one of them will require one turn. In that case, you place in the upper left-hand corner the piece that needs to be rotated twice clockwise in order to be face up. And when you apply the algorithm, it will convert into this case, and then you solve it by keeping the one that's face up in this corner until they're all face up. Okay? You may also have a situation where two corner pieces are face up and they're on the same side. This scenario will be just like this one, in that one cube will need to be turned once to be face up, one will need to be turned twice. You put the one that needs to be turned twice in the upper left-hand corner. Now I know that this can come across as kind of confusing, but here's the point. This case will convert into this one, and then you solve it. This case will convert into this one. This case will convert into this one. They all converge on this case, which eventually will be solved. How many times do you have to apply the algorithm in order to solve the cube? Well, you may need to apply it only once, if this is the situation you get. You may need to apply it twice. You may need to apply it as many as 3 times, but you should never have to apply it more than 3 times. And it's a really fast algorithm to apply, and it's really easy to learn. Okay? So we're going to go through a few of these situations, and I'll show you how to solve them. Okay? First, let's review the algorithm. Alright? This little drawing represents what the algorithm does. One piece doesn't move, and the other 3 each turn one move clockwise. Here's the algorithm. I'm assuming you already know Rubik's Cube notation. If you don't, that's a lesson for another video, or you could look it up. The notation, the algorithm is this: L prime, U2, L, U, L prime, U, L, and then it's commonly taught as being U2 at the end, but it might be U3. There are times, and if you've solved it, you don't have to do this end part at all. But it's commonly taught as being U2. What that does is it returns that one corner piece that has had nothing done to it. It returns it back to its corner. But it might be U3, or it might be no U's at all. And so I have that in parentheses because this may be, you may think of this as optional. Okay? So let's look at some of these situations, and we'll solve them. Alright? So let's just look at this first situation. We've already sort of looked this over. It's going to be this situation right here, where one piece is already up. Okay? In this case, each of these corners needs to be turned twice in order to be face up. So let's apply the algorithm. And it goes like this: L prime, U2, L, U, L prime, U, L, U2. Now it looks like nothing has happened. That one is still face up, and the other 3 are not. However, this piece needed to be turned twice in order to be face up. Now it only needs 1. Same thing, this needed 2 rotations clockwise in order to be face up. Now it only needs 1. And this one needed to be turned twice. Now it only needs 1. So if I apply the algorithm one more time, it should be they all should be face up. All four of them should be face up. So let's do that. L prime, U2, L, U, L prime, U, L, U2. Now, in this case, the U2 at the end was unnecessary. That's what I mean when I said that it was optional to do that part. Because, right, it's optional. It doesn't matter how I orient it now that all of them are face up. Okay. So that U2 sometimes does something and sometimes not. Depends on where you are in the sequence. Okay. So, great. There's a case where I solved it. It was already in this final case here. So now let's show how you can convert to that case from other scenarios. Okay. So here's a situation where two of them are face up and two of them are not. Okay? And this one, how many times does it need to be rotated in order to be face up? 1, 2. And this one, how many times does it need to be rotated to be face up? Only 1. Okay? When you have this situation where two of them are face up, one needs to be turned once and one needs to be turned twice, the piece you put in the upper left-hand corner should be one that needs to be turned twice. Okay? Let's go through that and we'll see how it plays out. Okay? So this one needs to be turned twice. It's going to be in that corner. Here we go. L prime U2, L U, L prime U, L U2. So now we're back at that scenario where one piece is face up and the other three pieces need to be turned more times in order to be solved, and now we should be able to just apply the algorithm as many times as necessary in order to solve it. Let's do that. L prime U2, L U, L prime U, L U2. One more time. L prime U2, L U, L prime U, L U2. And there we go. We've solved it. Okay? So let's go ahead and look at another scenario. Okay. Two pieces, again, are face up. Two pieces are not face up, but they're oriented differently from the last time. This one needs to be turned once. This one needs to be turned twice. Okay? So this time, when the one that needs to be turned twice is in the upper left-hand corner, these two are in a different location. So you just look and you see how many times this one needs to be turned once. This one needs to be turned twice. So I'm going to put this one in that upper left-hand corner and we'll do the algorithm. I'm not going to call it out this time. I'm just going to do it, okay? Alright, and now I'm back to this scenario. I've converted it into that one. You recognize it where I've got one turned upright, face up, and the other three are not. So I'll just apply the algorithm as many times as necessary until they're all face up. And I think you can begin to see now how fast that algorithm is, how quickly it solves that face. It can be applied very fast. So it seems like kind of a slow, cumbersome thing when it's being explained in full, but it actually ends up being really fast. Okay? So we'll just look at one more scenario. Okay. So here's a case where they're kitty corner from each other, the two that are face up, and the two that are not face up are opposite. They're also kitty corner from each other. Okay? So same thing, I'm going to look for one that needs to be turned twice. This one would need to only be turned once in order to be face up, clockwise. This one would need to be turned twice. So I'm going to put the one that needs to be turned twice in the upper left-hand corner, and I'm going to apply the algorithm. And we're back to this situation. We recognize this one. We've got one face up and the other three are not. And now I just apply the algorithm. As many times as necessary until they're all face up. Depending on the situation you're dealt, you may need to apply the algorithm once, you may need to apply it twice, you may need to apply it 3 times in order to solve it. But considering that you should be able to do the algorithm in a couple of seconds, it's really a quick move. Now, here's the problem. If you don't know which piece to put in the upper left-hand corner, you may do this algorithm 20 times and never solve it. You could be here all day doing it and never solve it. You have to put the correct piece in the upper left-hand corner. You have to know which one goes in the upper left-hand corner. But I've already described that. And if you put the proper one in the upper left-hand corner, you should never have to apply the algorithm more than 3 times in order to solve it. All right.